Hiya, it's Amanda here from Lolli Lulu Crafts, and today I am going to be making a diamond anniversary card. I have designed it already. I will just run through what I've done for you. This is done for the Cricut Maker because there's foiling involved. However, you can do this on your other Cricut. All you need to do is change the foiling element to a drawing element, which it is already a drawing element. I've just told the Cricut that it's going to be done in foil rather than by a marker. You just need to do the opposite, which I will show you how to do. And basically it's these elements here. So the hearts down the bottom and the Mr. and Mrs. here are all going to be foiled. However, if you did this, say, with a silver marker, that would look really effective as well. I don't think that would be a problem. Now this bit here is for the inside of our card. The card, by the way, is about 5 by 7, and so this part here is the inside of the card. At the moment it's separate, so what we want is first of all to change this to foil. If you were doing on a regular Cricut and you want to change this foiling element to writing, this is basically the same as what you're going to do here, but in reverse. So what you would want to do here first is obviously ungroup everything so that you can actually get to this particular piece of card. So once you're able to get to that piece of card, you're able to basically do this. So it will be attached, so you would go down here and it says down here detach, so click on that. It will then separate this element, the writing element, from the card. The reason you have to do that is because you need to click on that separately to change it from marker or foiling, if you're doing it in reverse, to whichever way around you're doing it. So you would just click on that. You don't want to move it because obviously I've positioned it, so you just want to carefully click on it without moving it. Then you go up here to where it says operation and you click on this and it says pen, foil, score, deboss, engrave, etc. So if you were changing it from foiling, obviously you would click on pen. At the moment mine's already in pen, and then you could click on that next to pen and you could actually change it. It doesn't really matter. It's what you actually stick in the actual machine. It doesn't actually matter what it's got on here, but if you want to have some idea of what it would look like if you use, say, a silver, which I can't even see, then you would be able to click on that, say, grey, look. So it would just give you an illusion of what it would look like. However, we're doing the opposite. We're going from that to foil, and I want medium, and then I want to change the colour of my foil. Again, that's just, it doesn't matter because, again, it's what foil you put on the actual mat that counts, but it's just to help you sort of see it visually, and what it would look like. So that's those two elements. Then we're going to reattach it. So you're going to click on the writing and then you're going to hold down the shift key on your keyboard and then you're going to click over, and that will, as you can see, then it clicks both the writing and the piece of card. Then you can see now the word attach down here is now available. So you just click on attach, and there you have that as one. And then when you click make it, what you will have is that on that card. So it knows that it wants that writing, whether it's writing or foiling, it knows it wants it on that piece of card. So that's all sorted. If you go to my store and you download this, then obviously you don't have to do any of the work other than if you need to change these from foiling to drawing. Now, what I do know to show you is if you download this from me and you don't actually own some of the images, instead of where it would say make it or cut or something here, it says check out. So it will then tell you how much and what images you don't own and how much that's going to cost you to purchase those images. If you didn't want to, for example, you could get rid of that sentiment on the inside. If you didn't own it, you could create your own, because you could type text and do your own. And do it that way. You could change these for something you had in your stash already, or your Cricut stash. So you can fiddle around with it if you didn't want to make the purchases. But what it does is it tells you now what those are that you don't own and how much it's going to cost you to make those purchases. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and purchase these, and then we will come back and start cutting. Okay, so we're going to press make it. I've now done the purchases, so that's all done. So now you can see it says continue instead of checkout. The first sheet that it wants me to cut, or the first item it wants me to cut, is the card base. Now I'm going to be cutting that in Stampin' Up's Whisper White, and the reason I'm doing that is because the layer that we've got, which is the next one, I don't necessarily need as thick a cardstock as a base card would need to be, and the Whisper White comes in Whisper White Thick and Whisper White Regular, so it will be the same colour but it will be in the different thicknesses. Now it's not the end of the world if you haven't got that, just use the same cardstock for both, but I just thought since I've got it I would make use of it. Now obviously, well not obviously, my Whisper White is actually A4, so I'm going to change that to A4. It's done the second one in that as well because it's the same colour, so it will automatically adjust the size of the card to match, because it will assume that if you want it A4 for one that's the same colour as the other, then it's going to need to be A4 for the other one, which is actually the case, so that's great. However, I actually do also want to move this over, which you can do, because this is foiling, I want to give myself room to adhere my cardstock, my foil rather, to my cardstock, and I want to have it in a position where I know absolutely where the foiling is going to be starting, so at 1 inch and 1 inch, then I know, and then this one here is just about at the 5 inch, because I'm going to have to do it in 2 pieces because I've only got the smaller foil at the moment, so I think that will work fine. In fact, I may even move it over to 2 and 2 to really make sure I've got plenty of room to stick that down. I think that will work better. So we're going to do that. Then my third piece here, I think I need to do all of these at the same time. This is silver mirror that I'm going to be doing. This is also going to be in A4. So I need to flip that around. Now if I want to save a little bit of foiling cardstock, I can pop that in the middle there because that piece is not going to be used. You could use it as a mat for something else if not, but since I could move it, I can then save a whole half a piece of card, which is always good, especially for mirror card. It's not the cheapest in the world. This one also is going to be A4, so we're going to flip that to A4. That's also foiling, however it's right in the middle here, so I think we should be okay with it there. Yeah, I think that should be okay position wise. And then this piece, I've got this cute little mirror as well, but it's also A4. I'm just trying, I was just thinking, is it the same or different to the other bit, but it is different. So that's all of those changed. So now we can go ahead and click continue. It's just connecting to my machine. Okay, so now it's come up with the different materials, so you can pick, this is your favourites, but there are also, you can browse all materials as well. I am going to go for heavy cardstock because that is a thicker cardstock. It's saying default pressure, so you could adjust that if you wanted to, and then it's telling me what tool to put in. It's saying I need to put my score tool in, and then afterwards I need to put in my blade. So we're going to go across to the machine. Basically, as we go through, it's going to tell me exactly, as we have here, what tools I need. So we're going to go ahead now to the machine and start cutting. Okay, so here we are at the Cricut Maker, and you can just, I hope, see that there's the little flicking light down there. That's what's telling me to put my mat into my machine. I've used a standard grip mat here, and then you press that button there. I put my cardstock on. I have not changed my blade. I need to change that to my score tool. So I'm just taking my score tool here and changing it for the single score tool. So I'm just popping that the right way round when I find the right direction. There we go. and then you just press that little button at the top and it either releases it or allows you to pop it back on. So then we're just going to pop that in there because there's like a double, like 2 score lines together or a single one, and I'm going for a single one. So it's told me to do that first, so I'm going to pop that in as I've done. It tells you which clamp to do it, which I've also done, and then we just press the little Cricut head there, or what used to be a Cricut head and is now just a little C for Cricut. So now on the computer, which obviously you can't see anymore, but it's telling me to change this here for my blade. So we just pop that in and then click the little Cricut head. I don't know if you can just see, oh you probably can't now, but you can just see there's a score line in the middle there, so we'll have a look at that in a minute. Okay, and then the light's flicking down here again, so that's telling me to eject. So let me see if you can just catch that score line. You just see it there. It's so fine, it's hard to catch it in the light, I think. There, can you just see it there? So that's the score line. So this is our card base. Okay, so now it's telling me to put my other piece of white cardstock, which I'm going to use the regular Whisper White, but also to do my foiling. Okay, so here's the foiling. So what you can see is, if you remember, I lined up my cut to be at 2 by 2, so I know that the actual foiling is going to start around 2 by 2. I saw that it went down to just about 5 inches on the top one, so I didn't put any tape here. I'm hoping that'll be all right, but I'm just a little bit nervous that it will touch there, but I know this part's okay. And then I did the same, I worked out at the bottom edge as well, so I've taped that down. So the only bit I'm slightly nervous about is here, but fingers crossed that will be okay. So we're going to pop that in now. We need to change my blade, which is actually in here, to the foiling tool. This is number 2, medium thickness, and then off we go, hitting our Cricut head. And fingers crossed it all fits in without touching anything it shouldn't. Okay, you don't want to take your piece of paper out, you just want to remove the foil very carefully without ripping your paper too much if you can. Okay, so that's peeled off. Now what you might not be able to see is that the tape actually was so sticky that it actually ripped some of the card. Now because I peeled down away from the centre, I don't think that's going to be a problem because I think it's ripped. Obviously the foil was way past where it's going to cut as well, but it is just a little bit annoying that it was that sticky, so it might be that you want to test that out, because maybe you want to sort of tap it onto your clothing to make it just a little bit less sticky. The problem is that you kind of need it to be sticky because you need it to hold it in place, so it's kind of a catch-22 I think. Anyway, now we need to change my blade over to a blade, not a foiling tool. It has actually come out really nicely as well. You can't quite see it because it's out of shot I think, but it seems to have come out okay. So let's now do the actual cutting. Oh yes, it's well within the area that's got messed up from the tape, so that's good. Now what I do want to do is just double check that that's cut okay. Yep, that's fine. So then we can eject, and let me just show you. First of all, you can see the sort of bits where its tape has caught it, but also that it is well within that area, so we're okay. Okay, so this is the mirror card. You can see all of everything on it. It's so shiny, and then we're going to pop that in. It's still on the heavy cardstock, but you know where I showed you it could do different pressures and it was on default. I actually moved that up to more because Miri's like a coated cardstock and it's quite thick as well, so I just want to be sure that it goes through okay. So I've just paused it a second because I want to just double check that it is cutting out okay, because obviously, as I said, it is a thicker card, and I'm thinking that even though some of it has, I think some of this detail might not have gone through so good. So I'm actually going to send it around one more time just to be sure, and that I'll show you how to do that. That's really easy to do. You don't even have to go back to your computer. Well, that looks like that's coming out just lovely, look. Okay, so I'm going to pop all that out. Okay, so we've got another foiling one here. This one's a bit easier because it's just one sentiment right in the middle. Again, you could use your marker. So I just looked at the position of the foiled sentiment and I saw that it was roughly between 2 and 4 here, and whatever it was this way, I can't remember, but basically this seemed to fit pretty easily. Okay, so the foiling's all done, and this time when I peeled it off it didn't have any issues, and this is a different cardstock. This is Creative Expressions cardstock. So here it is all done, and you can see it looks so amazing. Look how detailed that is, and this is definitely one you're going to want to go across to the blog post. The link is down below this video because you'll definitely see a lot more in the photographs than you are here. It will definitely show you a lot more detail. It's worth going over to have a look. But now the final piece is that little star on our diamond, and I'm going to use this gorgeous piece of holographic cardstock. Okay, so that's our little sparkle. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is glue this little piece on to my diamond here. So I'm going to use this construction glue because it's sort of a really shiny surface, so we want something nice and strong. That looks about right. There we go. Isn't that pretty? Okay, so the next thing I want to do is to put the inner piece in. So again, I'm just going to use this wet glue because one, it gives me some movement time, and two, it's a thicker cardstock. It's not like super thick, but it is a thicker cardstock, so it's got a bit more weight. So having this stronger glue will definitely make sure it stays put. And just gorgeous, I love that. It also gives me that option to be able to just wriggle things around into position, which is always helpful. So that's given some nice weight to the back there. I think that looks so nice. I like the blue, and as I said, that gives that bit of extra weight. Now this is our mat. Now because it's mirror card, I thought it was quite useful to cut that out in the middle so that I didn't sort of have a whole panel across. You could do that, it's not going to be a big deal, but because I know that the next layer I'm actually going to pop up onto foam anyway, it didn't really matter. If it had been I was laying the next layer completely flat, then I wouldn't have done this, because you would get a slight dip and I think that would show and it wouldn't look so good. But because I know I'm popping that other layer up, and then I also wanted to cut that diamond out, it made me be able to sort of take advantage of best use of the space, really. Then very carefully pop this layer down. I'm just going to use my tissue here just to, again, make sure it's all down nice and firm. Okay, so that's that layer done. So now we want our other foiled layer, which is becoming harder to see because the sun's coming out, and even though I've put the blind down, it's proving more difficult. I'm hoping you can just catch that enough. So I'm going to put that on next, but for this one I want to use some foam just to pop it up. Now let me just check that that's sitting okay. Yeah, see what I'm doing, if you look at it on the reverse, is just making sure that the foam sits within the boundaries of that foil, just so that it's making that nice and level, because if I put the foam over where the foil is, you would get a slight difference, so the sides would be slightly higher than the middle, and I don't think that looks good. So now this is very sticky foam, so I think we don't need to add our wet glue like I normally do. This is really strong. And then pop that centrally over our layer here. I just think that looks kind of cool. So hard for you guys to see that, I think. And then what we want to do next is pop this bit down. Now this bit's going to be flat, but we're going to do something extra to it as well in a minute. So I'm going to just put a bit of tissue down here so that it doesn't go all over the table, because then I end up, because I'm hopeless, I end up getting it all over the back of the card. And I'm going to use this glue here. I think that looks pretty good. So let's just pop that down. Make sure that's straight. Well, not quite, nearly but not. Okay, so that's our diamond sort of base done. Okay, so now what we want is the final touch, which I hope is going to look great. I've got a load of these self-adhesive gems in 3 different sizes. They're all like sort of a rainbowy kind of effect. Hopefully you can just catch that. And we're just going to fill these areas in to make ourselves a really sparkly diamond. Okay, so I'm basically just filling in, that will focus, filling in the gaps using the different sizes of Diamante. So I shall carry on doing that. You don't want to see me doing the whole lot, and then I will show you when they're done. So here's my diamond done. I think that looks really cool. I wasn't very happy with this bit, so I'm going to show you what I've done with that, because once I put the diamonds in, you really lost that sparkle bit there. And I also felt that the foiling, although really nice, it needed just a little something. So I've started adding some crystal stickles to there. So we're just going to finish off the stickles down the bottom here. So I'm using, yeah, just plain crystal stickles. And I'm just going to sort of fill in the hearts. I sort of filled in the ribbon and now I'm going to fill in these hearts, and I think that will just, I think it looked just a little bit plain even with the foiling, so because the other bit was so over the top with all the crystals in it that it just didn't have the right balance in my opinion. What I did for this, and I'll show it to you in a second, is I cut out the sort of sparkle, as it were, 4 more times in, or 4 in total I think it would be, in some white cardstock. And originally I was going to put another piece of this silver mirror stuff over the top. However, I then got this holographic Stickles, it's called Silver Ice, and I put that over the top of it. I stuck all 4 pieces together and then I've put that over the top of it instead, because that kind of goes with that colour quite nicely, I felt. But then what I also did, I'm being careful because it's not 100% dry, is I've put a small bit of foam on the back, which I'm for me. There we go. I think that looks really effective, and just having that 3D I think just gives it a little bit extra. And then obviously we've got the Stickles. So there it is, finished, all sparkly on the outside for a diamond anniversary. Some lovely sparkly hearts, a lovely sparkly diamond, and then very carefully on the inside we've got that lovely sentiment and just a tiny little, I wouldn't even call it a pop of colour because it's quite delicate. It's more delicate in life than I think it's showing up on the camera actually, but it may be when I see it on the screen it's okay, but definitely I would take a peek at the blog post for the photographs, because it will give you a lot better view of it, a lot more close up of the foiling and the diamond and everything that you can see here, that definitely shows up a lot better in real life, in the real photographs rather than on the camera. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed making this Cricut Diamond Anniversary card with me. As I said, I will, well, maybe I didn't say, but as usual anyway, I will put this design on my store to download, so if you like it you can download it. I have made the adjustment to the design to add the extra layers, so if you don't want to do the popping up you just need to delete those extra layers off, and obviously as discussed you can change this to a marker rather than foiling if you so desire. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed and I will see you again soon. Bye for now. Bye.